Hello, Kansas City. Welcome to another fantastic day out there. Thanks for joining us on another episode of what we're calling Life After, a show dedicated to exploring the possibilities that emerge after you graduate or don't graduate high school, and the paths that emerge, that you may have decided or have kind of called to you throughout your life. So we are joined today by another wonderful person who's had major experience here in Kansas City Public Schools, someone I worked with and got to know at that fantastic building that we keep tributing in this show, Paseo Academy. So welcome, Pamela Lucas.
Well, hello, Chris. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate talking with you and just sharing some experiences.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. So when we found out that this show isn't just going to be about students who might have attended our own schools, life after KCPS, then we expanded to lots of different groups of people. But I found out that Pamela Lucas here also attended one of our KCPS schools. And in working together, we can explore lots of the cool things that she's done with her career. We'll make sure we get a chance to talk about it. She's also doing life after teaching, which is a nice spin on our life after concept in this show. So make sure you're listening when she tells us about all the cool stuff she's doing now that she is out of the classroom. Okay, so bring us up to speed. Tell us what year you graduated, what school it was, and what you remember about those days.
Let me look back on some pages here. All right, so I graduated in 1978 from Southeast High School. 1978, Southeast High School. Oh my goodness. So at that, Southeast Nights, that's me.
Very nice. Shout out to Southeast Nights. And we are doing these shows from Southeast with their host. Her name's Katie Zeke, and we've kind of expanded. So Southeast is getting a lot of coverage. But please, we don't know probably the history of 1978 right off just our memory. What was it like at Southeast in 1978?
It was good. From what I remember, I was a quiet kid in school, so I wasn't a rebel rouser. I don't remember a lot of bad things at all. My sister went there too, my brother too, and it was wonderful. The teachers were good. That's when I first started sewing. We had the cooking class, and then we had the sewing class. So, and our sewing class, we had to go to the cafeteria and lay our fabric out on the tables at that particular time. And then we went to the classroom. It was good. The football games were good. It was wonderful. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And very historic building, lots of, just meaning and looking at that building and kind of the Southeast neighborhood in our school district.
Yes.
Very cool. So
at that time, our principal name was Mr. Herring, I believe. Wow, we're going way back.
It's good to be able to pull those things back out of our memory.
Yeah.
All right. So rewind it one more time, and you remember graduating there. And then do you remember kind of the next move that you decided to make and how you decided to make that move? Because if you're listening today, young people, I think that's what we're centering on. We get done with our experiences in high school. We've had lots of people telling us what we should do or thinking about it along with us, or maybe not. But we have to make this kind of move right after high school. Will you tell us kind of what that was like for you?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so our graduation took place outside on the field house. And so it was outside. It was absolutely wonderful. At that time, I think in my senior year, I was working at a place called JCPenney. JCPenney, I was cutting fabric on War Parkway. So, War Parkway Mall. So after that, I'm deciding where I'm going to go. So I went to community college, Penn Valley Community College, majoring in fashion design. So let's see, after I graduated, it was 1 year because I had to work to make my money so I can move out my mom's house and get my own place and go to school and work. So after I graduated 78, then I worked a year and then I moved out and I went to Penn Valley Community College, absolutely, for fashion design. So those are the things that I was thinking about. Those are the things that was on my mind at that time. Wow. You're talking 40 years ago, my God. Okay, go ahead. Keep
but
going.
It's meaningful. So you remember it. That's what's so interesting. And that how cool that the practice you had, in the cafeteria translated to then the work you did at the mall with cutting fabric. Were you conscious of those moves, or were they just kind of falling into place? Or were you trying to get more practice in that area?
Well, I love to sew. So I was designing and creating and sewing. So at JCPenney's fabric, that was right up my alley. At that time, it's not happening now, but at that time at the mall, JCPenney, they used to have a fabric store, a fabric area downstairs where they had the housewares. And that's where I worked. I was running that department. I had such a wonderful time there. So, and then got my car, had to get my own transportation. So I bought a car. And then I went to Penn Valley.
Gotcha.
Absolutely, for fashion design.
Gotcha. So then you continue to go to Penn Valley, and where did that take you as far as educationally?
Okay, so I got the associate degree at Penn Valley. So in between that time, I had my daughter. So it took me 3.5 years to the 2-year college. Why? Because I was working, I was on my own, had my own place, and then I had my daughter. And then after that, I went to, decided to go back to New York because I was born in New York City. Then I wanted to go higher up. So what I did was, back at that time, we were writing letters. We weren't doing like emails and Facebook stuff. So I would write a letter, hello, to whoever it was, Vogue magazine. My name is Pamela Lucas. I want to be a fashion designer, blah, 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 blah. So one of them called me back and said, well, I just thought it'd be easier for me to call you instead of writing you. You need to be in New York, you need to be in California, for what I wanted to do at that time. Just so happened, my dad still lived in New York City. So I went back to New York City to go to the Fashion Institute of Technology for fashion design and apparel production management. And yes, ladies, I took my 2-year-old daughter with me.
Wow.
Yeah. I did that. So people say, well, when you were in New York, did you have fun? No. I mean, I had fun because I love doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I would get up in the morning, I would take my daughter to the babysitter, I'd get back on the bus, go across town, get the train, go downtown, go to FIT. And the teacher there loved me so much that she told me about her friend, Helen Fabricant, who needed someone to help out in their design studio. Then I would go there and work. And then I'd go back uptown, go across town, pick up my daughter, and go back home. On those days. On the other days, there was a mentor. When I first moved to New York, the lady had an ad in the paper to come help her sew. So I answered the ad. I'm not going to cry, but she turned out to be like a second mom. Her name was Rosa Glenn, and she had ties with Bill Cosby and all the other people, and she was doing wonderful things. And so I would go to her studio and work on the days that I was not at FIT. But the same scenario, after I got done working with Rosa, I'd have to hightail it uptown to Harlem, pick up my daughter, and go home. By the time I got home, I was tired. People said, oh, you didn't go party? No, I was working. I was getting my degrees. And then I had my business too. I was sewing for people. It was a wonderful time for me in New York. It was hard, but I was focused. And then what brought me back to Kansas City was my daughter wanted to be around all her girl cousins. So here's a life lesson, people. First, I said, okay, she can go back to Kansas City. I'll stay in New York and become this big famous fashion designer. So I let my mom take her 1 week. That's all it lasted. I said, what am I doing? I left New York and I came back to Kansas City because I was mother, father, sister, brother to my daughter. And so I'm the mom. So I came back. And lo and behold, as it would turn out, what happened? I ended up being a fashion designer at Lee Jeans.
Yeah.
Look at that. You can be a fashion designer no matter where you are.
Right.
You can do what you want to do. And these days, you can do whatever it is you want to do. You don't have to be at a certain location anymore like it was 40 years ago.
Sure. Very good.
And right. And it was through the Lee Jeans. Then I also went back to Penn Valley as a teacher. First, I was a student at Penn Valley. Look at that. First, I was a student at Penn Valley. Then I come back as a teacher. How did that happen? I always kept in touch and good contact with my teachers and mentors and people. And that's how I found out about that job. So I was working at Penn Valley. And then from that point, I get a call. They needed someone at Manual Career Center, Manual Career Education Center, for somebody to come and teach the fashion department there. The teacher who was there, she retired and moved, and the spot was open. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is high school. Teaching high school is way different than teaching college.
Yes.
Teaching college, you just teach your craft. You don't have to worry. Teaching high school, we teach the students about the craft, but we also have to teach them about life too.
Yep.
So it's different. So I took that job, and I'm glad I did. It was very rewarding. It was hard, as you know, Chris. But it was very rewarding. And that's how I ended up back in the Kansas City, Missouri school district, 40 years later, or maybe later, teaching.
Very cool.
First I was a student, then became a teacher, and retired from the district. Oh my goodness, Chris, you're kind of getting me a little emotional here.
No, it's a big story. I'm so glad that we got a chance to do this, and that it'll go down historically as you telling this version of your story and people hearing it. So it's fantastic. I love to hear all the interconnections and the chance taking and the real true story of what it took to get there, not the cookie cutter version or the sugar coated one. I think
that's right.
What young people need to know, it takes that, right? And
absolutely blood, sweat, and tears. And one more thing that happened to me. When I got ready to leave Kansas City to go to New York, we had a big going away party. Okay? Big, gigantic going away party. I'm not going to name where we were living at the time, but where we were living at the time, there was a window and there was a screen. Okay. So that night, I closed the blinds and everything like that, but the window was still open. So my daughter, who just started learning how to walk, goes behind the couch. I'm on the phone saying goodbye to some of my friends. All of a sudden, I hear this crying. So my daughter fell out the window.
Oh my gosh.
She fell out the window. So I ran outside. It was one of those apartments where when you in the front you walk in, you're on that level, but in the back you were upper level. So she fell one story. So I go out and I pick her up and I come back in. Now, mind you, I don't have a car because I sold my car to go to New York. I call my mom. I can't even speak.
Wow.
Thank you, Lord. That's why I say there's a God. Thank you, Lord. She broke her ankle, and that was it. She's still, right now, I could be talking to you guys right now. I could be a mother who lost a child at 2 years old. But instead, I don't know how it happened. When she pressed against the screen popped out, because in that apartment complex, that was a defect. The screen popped out and she fell.
Yeah, that's scary.
She didn't bust her head. She didn't break her neck. She ain't paralyzed. Thank you, Lord. She broke her ankle. I took her to Children's Mercy. And then now she got her ankle bandaged up. Now I'm crying my eyes out, saying to my mom, I can't go to New York. I can't be a designer. I can't do none of that. My child's leg, her ankle is broke.
Yeah.
My mom was like, here, take your stuff. Here, take that. You going to New York. Your dad lives there. You got a place to stay. You going. Go ahead. Go. And so there we are, getting on the plane, and I'm holding my daughter with a cast on her leg, and we go to New York. So yes, thank you, Lord, that nothing happened to her. And her name is Monique Sheree. You see her on Facebook. She's doing music, media, and that's her ministry. Oh my God.
Very cool. Well, thank you
I
for.
didn't expect to talk about that, Chris.
No, I could sort of tell, and we'll just say that life is precious. That's the summary of that story,
That's
right?
right,
And
right.
life
And
is
you never
precious.
know. You look at somebody who's doing stuff, you never know what they had to go through to get where they had to go, to
Amen.
get where they are, or what's happening behind the scenes. You know, all that glitters not gold, but
Right.
yes. So I'm
Okay,
just
so
thankful that she's alive. And whew,
so
okay,
bring us up to now, and then the last thing you could do is kind of utilize what you just told us to think about some advice for some young people, because I think
okay,
what you were just saying definitely could come through in some advice for some young people.
absolutely. Okay, so now, so now I retired from the school district, and I'm loving retirement. And it gives me a chance to be an entrepreneur, a full-time fashion designer, not a fashion designer on the side, not a side hustle, not getting money under the table, but full-time legitimate fashion designer, entrepreneur. I design clothes, and right now I have an academy of pattern making and design. It's an online video membership subscription. If you guys want to find out more about me, you can always go to House of Pamela Renee. That's Renee, House of Pamela Renee, or Pamela Lucas. Look me up on Facebook. You can find out more information. I have some interest. And the funny thing is this: now that I have that business, I have a business location. I have some students, Chris, who were in my class at Paseo.
Yeah.
Come and help me sew.
Yeah, that's
come and do things. We work on projects together.
That's great.
That just brings everything full circle. So like I said, if you want to find out more about me, it's House of Pamela Renee, or you can just look me up, Pamela Lucas. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, all those types of things. I have a Fashion Friday segment that I do every Friday, a live segment about fashion, and I interview people and things like that. Yeah. But life is hard and life is precious, people, young people.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to follow up on House of Pamela Renee. People out there, take a look, support. But let's do that final question. What do you think you heard back then, or what do you think young people need to hear today that really kind of helped you along your path?
Well, okay, let me give you an example. When I was getting ready to leave Kansas City to go to New York, I was in this group called NAFAD, National Fashion Accessory Designers. And they gave me $100 back then. That was a lot. And that was, they believed in me. They helped me to believe in myself that it's okay. Don't be scared. Don't just stay where you are because you're afraid to do something. Don't just say, oh no, I cannot do it. Do it. If you do it and you fail, you get up, you try it again. Don't and explore this is a big, 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 big world. And you got one life. And so you want to live it to the best of your ability. But one thing I will say is make sure you're kind to people. Don't be a mean bitch. Just be kind to people and love people. So, and then you go further in life, because when you help people, then people help you. But if you stingy and don't want to help anybody and you take them from people, then people ain't gonna gravitate towards you. So you kind of want to keep those have a lot of joy and love and peace and kindness in your heart, and go after your dreams, and don't let anybody tell you you cannot do it, and don't hang around people who are not doing positive things. So that group that you had that was doing all the crazy bad stuff, smoking, drinking, they go to the group that, go to the squares. Go to the people who are doing things and positive things in your life. If you ask somebody, what do you see yourself 5 years from now? They should be able to tell you what you got to have some goals. What are your goals? So that's advice I would give, be kind to people, have some goals in your life, and that, that type of stuff. Do what you want to do. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Don't say you cannot.
That's fantastic. All right. You heard it here, Kansas City. And what I would say is, if you go down this path like Pamela Lucas here, you may stay younger, you may stay rejuvenated, you may, even appear younger, right? Like, yes. I can see that the arts is a place of renewal for you. And yes. I love that. So don't forget, young people, that finding and following your passion is a good way to stay young and stay vibrant and alive. So, Ms. Lucas, thank you so much for rewinding and revisiting your path. has been another fantastic episode of Life After. I'm Chris Odam. Thank you, Kansas City. Thank you to our guest, Ms. Pamela Lucas. Check her out on the House of Pamela Renee, or look her up on just Google and Pamela Lucas.
And my logo is the House of Pamela Renee, where fashion meets education.
Very nice. All right, we're signing off. Have a wonderful day, everybody.